There's some massive fraud happening in crypto right now, according to one of the largest investors in crypto. And he pointed out in an open letter what is happening at DCG and Genesis and how they've committed fraud. I want to go through that. Also, talk about where crypto is right now. I want to talk about some big events happening this week, some big news that was just revealed, including a tech company investing a significant amount. We're talking $10 billion into a AI company, ChatGPT. So we're going to talk about all that in this video. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, I appreciate that. A couple pieces of housekeeping. This is my last day here on vacation. We'll get back to the normal setup in the normal studio the day after tomorrow. I also want to thank today's show sponsor, which we'll talk about later in the video. And I do want to say I've tried to record this video a couple times, but there's a problem with the sound equipment, so hopefully everything goes well. If you like that, let me know in the comment section. Let me know which part of this video you like the most, and I will put timestamps underneath the video in case you want to skip around. Now, we're going to try to keep it short because the last couple videos were long and they didn't work because of the recording issue. You can see the crypto market's doing pretty well today. We don't have too much movement. I mean, Bitcoin has done well over the last few days. It's up 3.5% in the last 7 days, but some cryptos are moving a lot more, which we've talked about. But Aptos is up 37%, ApeCoin up 7%, Chili's up 6%. A lot of excitement in metaverse and AI right now in crypto. Now, Bitcoin is well above this 50-day EMA. We have it sitting right around 17,100 now. Hopefully we go up to this $18,000 mark. That would put us right around the 100-day EMA, which we've only hit a couple times since the bear market started. We can see it back when we pumped up to 22,000, but before that we hadn't seen it back until April when we were at like in the low 40,000s. So if we could flip that into support, I think that would be really positive. Of course, though, we do have some big events this week, which could send us right back down and send us below the 50-day EMA again. We have CPI, we have Fed speak, different Fed speakers all throughout the week, including Jerome Powell this morning. We have bank earnings starting, and then we start having tech earnings. So just know if you're FOMOing in, I would suggest staying with what you've already planned on doing, because we could see another rejection and hit a lower low like we've seen over the last couple months. And if you're buying some of these smaller cryptos, just keep in mind that it's typically not a great idea to be buying pumping coins in a bear market. Now, of course, always do your own research. I could be wrong. Now, speaking of tech earnings, we have Microsoft reporting in a few weeks, but they just reported that they plan on buying part of ChatGPT's parent company, OpenAI. So they plan on investing $10 billion in OpenAI as part of a $29 billion round. So that it would value the company at $29 billion. Microsoft would reportedly get 75% share of OpenAI's profits until it makes back the money on its investment, after which they would assume a 49% stake in OpenAI. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that OpenAI, like a lot of tech companies, doesn't make a lot of profit right now. And when you think about it too, it doesn't make as much in profit from just normal everyday users as something like Google. When you think about Google's business, they basically are able to give you ads every time you search for something. They put ads before the actual content that you want to get to. So that can be quite profitable. They can show a lot of ads that way. Now, OpenAI, I think, can make money probably a little bit easier from integrating with different businesses using their product, but it's going to be difficult to make money from the everyday average user unless they're just looking at like the sides and they run ads there, because they take different pieces of information from around the internet and give you one specific answer. They're not trying to give you ads in between that. Now, maybe they could integrate that, like you ask a question, there's an ad, and then they give you the answer. One other question too is, how are they going to get around some of the headwinds that they have? First of all, they've scrubbed a lot of the internet, and they're actually giving the information to people without actually showing the websites, which a lot of people think could be a misuse of property or misuse of information, and they're not actually benefiting the original writers of that information, yet it's still using their information, compared to Google, where it basically just drives more website traffic. So there might be some question over whether they can actually legally use this information. So it will be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Now, this isn't a big problem for Microsoft to invest this amount of money. They have $107 billion on their balance sheet. They bring in $65 billion of cash flow. So for them, this is a smart investment because it might take years and years for them to get back their money from the profits of OpenAI, but they can use it to hopefully boost Bing and create more profits in that way, bring more people over to their search engine, because we know Google has a large profit driver in Google search. Now, before we go any further, I want to thank today's show sponsor, Leven Network. Leven Network is a decentralized Binance Smart Chain yield optimizer with a referral program that allows its users to earn compound interest on their crypto holdings and allows its users to boost their earnings without limits. The project also has a platform token, which has about 1.75 million tokens that will be minted, so they say that's pretty rare. It's in pre-sale right now, and that will give benefits to all the different holders, such as revenue sharing. They're also on the number one AMM and yield farming platform on Binance Smart Chain, which is PancakeSwap. You can see some of the tokens here: BUSD, BNB, Liquidity Pool, Cake, BNB, Liquidity Pool, and Cake, BUSD, Liquidity Pool. So they only have some of the largest cryptos out there because they want to make sure that they don't have some wild tokens and some really small cap tokens. They were also recently audited by CertTech. As always, I'm not telling you to buy or sell any different cryptos because I'm not a financial advisor, but I will leave links to them underneath the video, and if they can do what they're trying to do, I think they have a bright future. We also have news of Coinbase cutting another 20% of its workforce among a second wave of layoffs. Obviously, they've had a hard time because their main profit driver is fees and trading, but a lot of people are just hodling, and a lot of people are taking their crypto off exchanges, so they have to cut costs. Hopefully they can get back to profitability. Now, we have had a lot of information come out about DCG and Genesis and Gemini, and we recently got an open letter talking a little bit more about that. The Winklevoss twins, or Cameron Winklevoss specifically, called for basically there to be some resolution to the problem of Genesis and Gemini. Now, if you don't remember exactly what I'm talking about, I'll just remind you real quick. DCG is the parent company of a couple different companies, including Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, including Genesis, which works in the background of a lot of different companies. It basically allows users on different platforms to earn yield. So a lot of people, like on Gemini, might go through Genesis to earn on their crypto, but they might not have even known that because it was just part of Gemini's Earn program. And then they also own a crypto news company and a lot of other companies too. Now, basically, there was a major problem with Genesis. They lent money out to Three Arrows Capital, and then Three Arrows Capital went bankrupt. They paused all their withdrawals, and that caused a lot of other companies to be affected as well. Now, Cameron said, again, just a few days ago in an open letter that they called for some kind of resolution by January 8th. That has passed, and now he's writing another open letter. He says that Gemini and more than 340,000 earn users have been defrauded by Genesis, along with DCG and their CEO, Barry Silbert, and other key personnel. Now, what exactly happened? Well, Genesis lent $2.36 billion of assets to Three Arrows Capital, and this basically went belly up. They had a $1.2 billion loss, and at that point, Genesis could do two different things. They could either restructure the Genesis loan book, or they could fill the $1.2 billion hole. Keep in mind, DCG has a lot of money and has been making a lot of money for years through Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Now, what they did was neither of these things. What they claimed they did on July 6th, they said DCG has assumed certain liabilities of Genesis related to Three Arrows Capital to ensure that they have capital to operate and scale their businesses for the long term. Now, this, they say, was misleading and false. DCG had not ensured Genesis had the capital to operate. In fact, they didn't give Genesis a penny. What they did instead was they entered a 10-year promissory note with Genesis at an interest rate of 1% due in 2032. So this was basically a gimmick saying that they would pay them in 10 years, but they didn't actually give them any help in the short term for any shortfalls of liquidity. Now from there, they continued to perpetuate the lie. They they said losses predominantly absorbed by and netted against DCG balance sheet, leaving Genesis with adequate capitalization to continue. They also committed some fraud, which they lay out here. They perpetuated the lie in a document titled Gemini Risk Metric Request. What they basically said was, or the fraud that they committed was, they characterized the DCG promissory note as a current asset instead of like a long-term asset, and it valued it at $1.1 billion. Now, why is this so bad, right? Why would labeling as a current asset be such a problem? Well, it's a 10-year promissory note. Current assets are usually different assets that you can create cash with in a year. It could be like a federal bond or some kind of treasury or cash. However, they labeled it as a current asset. They also labeled it at $1.1 billion, which is a little bit misleading as well, because typically there would be a large discount. They say here up to 70%. So really this $1.1 billion might be worth more like $300 billion or $330 million, I should say. So this was very misleading and caused the company to look a lot stronger than it actually was. Now, they go through for a while why they did this. And basically what they did was they were lending to 3AC so that 3AC could do a swap and basically balloon the assets, or balloon the size of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which made them a lot more in fees. Now, I won't go through this whole article because it is quite lengthy, or this letter. You can check it out, though, on Twitter again. But at the end of this, what they call for is for DCG's CEO, Barry Silbert, to basically be removed by the board as CEO, effective immediately, and install a new CEO. They say that he's proven unfit to run DCG and unwilling and unable to find a resolution with creditors that is both fair and reasonable. Now, depending on what happens to GBTC and to the parent company, this could have a huge effect on crypto for a couple different reasons. One, we have Grayscale Bitcoin Trust that holds 600,000 Bitcoin. A lot of people are wondering if they have to sell some of the Bitcoin to make up for the hole on their balance sheet. Two, Genesis has a lot of whales that use them. They don't go through companies like Gemini a lot of the time. They'll just go directly to Genesis to get a higher yield. And there are a lot of retail investors too that have a lot of capital tied up. With Genesis stopping withdrawals, that's caused a lot of people to reposition their portfolios, and that could happen with a lot of other individuals as well. It could cause a lot of people to not trust crypto as much. Now, GBTC has this large discount right now, but it is being gobbled up a little bit. We have a discount at 38% right now. There's, as I understand, some company that wants to essentially take over GBTC, lower the fees, and make it so that you can get your assets out, or get the equivalent of value of your Bitcoin out, which I think would be a benefit. Now, hopefully this all resolves soon. I would like to see Barry Silbert step down as CEO. Who knows how much of this is true, because of course it's not proven. This is coming from Cameron Winklevoss, which I believe it probably is true. Most of the time, these things are true. There aren't a lot of people that are trying to go create defamation, unless it's actually true. But hopefully this all gets resolved, and hopefully it doesn't affect the markets too much. Now, let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Something positive, we are seeing Bitcoin at 17,300. Hopefully we continue to see a run, or if you want Bitcoin and crypto to keep on falling so you can keep on dollar cost averaging, let me know in the comments section. Thank you so much. Thank you to today's show sponsor, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.